Have you ever felt like you were given a challenge that you never asked for? Like life dropped this heavy burden in your lap, and you just want to say, I wish none of this had ever happened. Well, you're not alone. You know who else felt that way? Frodo freaking Baggins. But what if I told you that the very thing standing in your way could be the path forward? And that's not just a Lord of the Rings thing. It's ancient wisdom from the Stoics. Hey there, I'm Riley. I'm an Air Force officer and a massive nerd, and you're watching Geeky Stoics. It's no surprise that I'm talking about the obstacle is the way. It's my introduction to Stoicism, and that's Ryan Holiday's writing is literally my gateway into this entire world of philosophy and how I begin to tie it to my own nerddom, if you will. And so the obstacle of the way is based on that famous quote, which is the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. And that's really the philosophy behind a very specific moment with Frodo in the Fellowship of the Ring film, as well as really a lot of the themes of Tolkien's writing. This whole idea that some of the greatest things we fear, some of the biggest obstacles we face, the things that turn your gut, the things that you feel are the things that are outside of your control. Often these are the very opportunities for you to show your character, for you to overcome and become, that's the operating word, become something and someone unrecognizable. So there's a scene towards the end of Fellowship of the Ring where Frodo and Gandalf are talking about the fate of the ring and how this horrible instrument of power, this instrument of evil, fell into Bilbo's and then now Frodo's hands. It is this strange turn of fate that just seems unfair, because it is unfair. It is not something that Frodo deserved. And when he was talking to Gandalf about it, particularly how the creature Gollum is now in this relentless, haunting, evil pursuit of this evil device that literally attracts Smeagol, aka Gollum's hunting instincts, and it's cursed Frodo to be hunted by this creature that he's rightfully very afraid of. And he tells Gandalf that, I wish the ring had never come to me.
I wish the ring had never come to me.
In fact, he uses this really ugly phrase for a moment, but I'm sympathetic to it because I remember feeling that way when I was watching the film, and especially when I was first reading the books. I hated Gollum. He was this really creepy, awful creature. So Frodo says,
It's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him when he had the chance.
It's a pity that Bilbo didn't kill him when he had the chance. It's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him, murder, when he'd had the chance. It's this dehumanizing rhetoric that's born from fear, from frustration. It's so obvious. But Gandalf tells Frodo something really important here. And it's such a clever turn of phrase from Tolkien. He uses the word pity in two different sentiments. And the first one's when Frodo's like, yeah, it's a pity, it's a shame, it's too bad that Bilbo didn't kill him. But Gandalf says, it was pity that stayed Bilbo's blade.
Pity? It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand.
It's powerful stuff. And he even goes on to say, many live that deserve death, and some die that deserve life.
Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them, Frodo?
And what Gandalf's saying here is he's challenging Frodo. Do you hold the fate, the life of others in your hand? Is that the rightful place of a hobbit from the Shire? And the answer is no. The answer is no. And the answer is life isn't fair. And there are these things that we can't control. There are these obstacles that stand in our own way. And what matters is how we choose to respond to them. And Gandalf's response is perfect, because what Gandalf is doing is that he's leaning in on these core principles that are much bigger than the moment. They're bigger than Frodo's fear of being pursued by Gollum. They're bigger than even the quest for the destruction of the ring. These bigger principles are mercy and grace. Gandalf is extending an understanding and a mercy to know that the right thing for Bilbo to do, regardless of the consequences, was to spare Gollum's life. And it would turn out that was a fateful part of the eventual destruction of the ring, was the very fact that Gollum did survive and played a role in its final destruction.
My heart tells me that Gollum has some part to play yet.
And here's the direct parallel to the obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius understood this. Like, even as the emperor of Rome, like, with all of this power, there are so many things about this world even such a seemingly powerful guy couldn't control. So he understood this. He understood that the impediment to action sometimes advances action. Literally, Gollum is the obstacle that Frodo has to overcome, who becomes the necessary guide that eventually shows Frodo and Sam the way to Mount Doom, the way to destroy the ring. And I think Tolkien does this really interesting thing where it's kind of twofold. There's an interesting, I don't know if it's a direct parallel to the obstacle is the way quote. It's not exactly a clean or perfect allegory, because in a lot of ways, like, becoming the way, it's not like Frodo's eventual acceptance of Gollum is what leads Gollum to have a change of heart and decide to destroy the ring himself. And that would be probably a more traditional fairy tale storytelling approach. But Tolkien has this sort of different fatalistic view of it. He always writes, and I love this, this is one of the things I love most about Lord of the Rings, is that Tolkien's writings kind of make way for strange moments of chance. And those strange moments of chance are often, I think, allegorical to a higher power. In my own experience and interpretation from like a Christian faith perspective, it's those moments of the randomness in the world where a higher power, where God or a higher power has the opportunity to change fate. And that's exactly what happens with Gollum and Frodo. Is, again, it's not Gollum like Gollum suddenly turning and helping Frodo destroy the ring. It's this strange fate that, by his very nature, he is so corrupted and so far gone. His only role in the eventual destruction of the ring is the fact that he literally bites off Frodo's finger, steals the ring back, and in his own euphoria, as he's given into his own evil and selfish instincts, he literally slips, and by chance falls into the all-consuming fiery depths of Mount Doom, destroying the ring. I think Tolkien's showing that, like, there's a greater and higher power whose will is counter to that of the will of the ring and the will of Sauron to dominate and destroy Middle-earth. As Gandalf says, that is an encouraging thought.
There are other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil. And that is an encouraging thought.
And it's not just Frodo's story either. I think of this, there's a really great parallel with Aragorn's speech in front of the Black Gate in Return of the King. This is quite literally, the world of men is facing the dark forces of Sauron at the literal gate of Mordor. And this is where I'm going to get nerdy. I'm going to do my best shot here. This is one of two movie speeches I have memorized. This is the weird flex that I can do at parties when I want to seem cool and then probably immediately seem way too nerdy. One is the gladiator speech, like the 3 weeks from now I will be... What is it? The 3 weeks from now, I will be harvesting my crops. Imagine where you will be, and it shall be said about... All right, I won't do the whole thing. But the other one I have is Aragorn's speech, which is from the original Return of the King trailer. That's where I heard it and watched it over and over and over and over again. And Aragorn says, and I swear it relates to the video, "I see in your eyes the same fear that would take the heart of me. A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day." They're facing, you want to talk about an obstacle, the literal Black Gate and the final forces of Sauron's entire army. That is quite literally a representative of an obstacle. Like, objectively speaking, there's almost no way that the men of the West could have won in an outright battle against Sauron's forces, particularly as Sauron himself became engaged in the battle. And that's the interesting thing. But the point was not that. The point was, and the way that was cleared, the way that was made possible, that it was literally a distraction. It literally pulled Sauron's evil gaze away from Mount Doom and offered that opportunity and that small window for the destruction of the ring. Like, this highlights the moral character that's required behind the whole obstacle is the way quote. The moral character is perseverance. It's like that courage in the face of seemingly impossible odds, seemingly impossible challenges. Epictetus said this very, very well. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. And that's something we talk a lot about on this channel. That's something I know Steven did a video where he highlights a lot of Viktor Frankl's philosophy that he explores in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. And it's that same principle. Like, he was literally a Jewish man trapped in a Nazi concentration camp. And that's where he began to truly reflect on the things that you can't control, but you can always control how you respond to your circumstances. No one else can control your thoughts. No one else can take away your knowledge. No one else can take away your soul. Because here's the deal, like, obstacles are opportunities. They're opportunities in disguise. I mean, think about in your own life, like the times that something that was seemingly an impossible challenge and became a defining moment in your life. I was literally just listening to the Dave Ramsey show this morning, and like, his story is exactly that. Like, his experience going bankrupt, not once but twice, is like the defining moment of his entire life that led to the entire empire that he's built today, helping people with their finances. So, like, I think it's a good example of why we should think of the times in our life when we faced really tough challenges, and the way that's actually shaped who we are, shaped our character. And that way, in the moment when you're facing a challenge, like, you can think, this is an obstacle, and this obstacle is the way. What stands in the way becomes the way. Hope you enjoyed this video. I gotta end it with Star Wars, because it's me. I can't help myself, right? May the Force be with you, always.